Okay, so everybody can see my screen okay here, and we're starting right out in ClassFlow there. So moving on to my next one, because I had expected Ella to do our introduction there, but anyway, in today's session, what I want to do is, this is our sort of first offering of the webinars with ClassFlow. So again, those of you who know of my webinars that I've been doing the last few years, we've really been focusing on ActivInspire, and we've slowly over the last sort of 6 months started to weave in some ClassFlow stuff. So we started off looking at ActivInspire with the ClassFlow plugin, and then we moved on to looking at ClassFlow Desktop. We've had a couple sessions on that, and now we're going to go into the ClassFlow website, what I like to call ClassFlow proper. Okay, so we're really going to start focusing on using ClassFlow, helping you guys to use ClassFlow as we move forward. But what I wanted to do with this session is really just talking about how to get you started. So a lot of what I'm going to show tonight is helping you to use ClassFlow with little or no preparation. So tonight we're not going to start looking at how to create your own lessons. If you're interested in that, make sure you come back for part 2. And that's at the beginning of November, because I am going to take that as our next step. So what I want to talk about tonight is ways that you can get started without having to really put any effort into preparing ahead of time to begin with. Okay, so the simple ways to get started. So we're going to have a look at how we can connect students quickly, okay, with no preparation in advance. You could walk into your class tomorrow and be able to get your students connected using this. Okay, we're going to look at using the instant whiteboard and the various features that are available on that and how you can use that in your classroom. We're going to look at finding and inserting or adding learning activities into your lessons. And learning activities are great as well because, again, you don't want to, if you're still learning ClassFlow and you don't want to get full on into lesson creation, the learning activities are a great way of getting started with the site and having that connectivity with your students and being able to get them to interact with content that you send them. We're also going to look at the marketplace and have a look at the changes to the marketplace. Now, just out of curiosity, and Sarah, maybe you can tell me, but I'll see them pop up.
Hi, Janice.
Hello. If you are
hi, Janice, your audio. Yeah.
My audio keeps cutting out. Okay. Is that everybody's having trouble with that? Is that right? Sarah? So audio is okay for some people, Sarah. Yeah, I can see it popping up. Okay. I'll try going on how I am. I'm not sure, Sarah, if it was maybe your reception, because I could hear you kind of cutting out as you spoke there. So just out of interest, and I can see it all popping up there as you're commenting about the audio, can you send in a chat and let me know if you're historically an ActivInspire user? So I imagine that we're going to have quite a few ActivInspire users that are on this call as well. So what I'm going to do is I am going to address ActivInspire users as well, because we don't want to forget about you, because just because Promethean Planet has now merged with ClassFlow Marketplace, and I hope you're all aware of that by now, but if not, you certainly will be after tonight, I want to make sure that you're supported as well. Okay, so without wasting any more time, I think we're going to get started. So the first thing I'm going to ask you guys to do is connect into my ClassFlow lesson. And to do this, what I suggest is that if you've got another device on you, like a smartphone or a tablet, or if you open up another tab on your web browser, and I'm going to get you to type in this URL. So it's classflow.co.uk/student. Okay? When you type that in to your browser, you will then have this little window that will open that will have this on it. And what I want you to do is on the tab that says Join Class, you're going to type in the code. And the code is QQQBW. Now don't worry about doing capitals. That can be a nightmare if you're using an iPhone. having to do each one as a capital. Just type it in, QQQBW, and it'll do the capitals for you. Once you're in there, and I can see somebody's already joined, fantastic. So once you're in there, you're then going to type your name in, and you're going to click Join Anyway. Now, one tip I do have for you is that it is best to always use Chrome, Safari, or Internet Explorer with ClassFlow. And it does need to be either the latest version of that browser or the one before. Okay, so that's how it works the best. That's how it's optimized. So please just be aware of that as well. So you can see up here, I can see my students joining, and if I click on that, I can then see a list of the students in my class that have now joined the session. Now, don't worry if you're not able to get joined. Okay, that doesn't matter. You'll still get the full effect of it. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open up another browser window myself, and I'm going to join as a student here. So those of you who aren't able to join as students, you'll still be able to see what the student will see. Okay, so bear with me while I just join in there. Okay, and my internet connection at my house likes to slow down a wee bit once everybody starts using it in the evening. Here we go. So I'm just going to type in. So this is what students would see on their devices when they're joining. And you can now see that in my lesson, I've set up a card so that when my students have joined, they get the lesson card to say, well done, you've joined. Just wait, we're going to begin in a minute. Okay, so I can see I've got 28 joiners. So perfect. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get started. But if you're still trying to join, that's okay, because the code up here is all you need to remember, that QQQBW. And it means that students can join the lesson at any time. They don't have to all join at the beginning of a session. So if I am a teacher and I started something in my classroom and I've got some late joiners, that's okay. They can still be involved because they can join at any point in that lesson. Okay, and Sarah, is it you that's unmuted? You might want to just mute your phone again if that's okay, because I can hear you typing in the background there. Thank you. Okay, so go on to the next page. So as I said, I want to start out with no preparation. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take a look at the Instant Whiteboard feature of ClassFlow. Now this is great because, as I said, this is something you could go into your class tomorrow, go to classflow.co.uk or whichever site it is that you use in the country where you're based, and be able to use the Instant Whiteboard with no preparation at all. And it is interesting because I'm actually going to exit this lesson, so I can see people still joining, and I'm just going to come out of here for a second and come back into my main ClassFlow window. And this is where I join Instant Whiteboard. So you're all thinking, oh, I just got connected to her lesson and she's now kicked me out. But hey, not how ClassFlow works, because I'm still joining with the same class. You can see all of you are still connected to my lesson. So even though I've left that lesson, that pre-created lesson, to come into my Instant Whiteboard, everybody is joined right back in. Okay, so right away, one of the things that I'd like you to do is when you get into Instant Whiteboard, you'll see that you've got the regular ClassFlow toolbar down the side here. And I can open that up, and that shows all of the thumbnails in the carousel that show the different cards within my ClassFlow lesson. And I'm just going to minimize that for now to take that out of the way. Okay. What I could do is immediately I could involve my pupils by sending out a poll. So I'm going to send out a creative poll. And what I would like you to do is use that camera tool. So now you should have a card that's been sent out to you, and I'll show that student view again. So this is the student view of the card. And you've got your tools down the right-hand side here, or if you're on an iPhone, they might be up at the top, and you've got that camera tool. So what I'd like you to do is use that camera tool to take a photograph of yourself, and maybe you write something or draw something around it, or if you prefer not to send a photo of yourself, that's okay. Just use the annotation tool, so your pen tool, and write something to send it in to us. Okay? So I'm going to show you, I can do that as the teacher as well, because I can take a picture here with my camera, and you can see there it is, lovely pose of me speaking, and I can paste that right onto the card in front of me. Okay, once you have used that camera facility, or once you've annotated on the card, just make sure that you click that submit button to send it in to me. And I can start to see here my pending responses, so I can see who still needs to answer in my class. And what I can do, if I click on this, it then shows me thumbnails of everybody that has contributed to my lesson, so everybody that sent something in. So I can click on these and have a better view of them. So hello everybody, oh look at that, somebody didn't want to show their face. I know I'm like that too, fills me with dread. And you probably saw my, I tried to move everything out of my background as well, so you wouldn't get to see everything that's going on in my house either. So hello to everybody, thank you so much for sending things in. So you can see how easy that is to get my class to just send things in. Right now, this is an anonymous mode. So it means that when I put this up in front of my class, in this case, we've got names on it, but if we didn't, nobody would know whose card was whose, unless it was your own, obviously. But I can toggle with that up here in this window by clicking on Show Names. And now you can see that all of my class's names now appear down here at the bottom. Okay? So I can see everybody that's contributed to that. We'll just hide the names again for now. Okay, and what I could do is, if I really liked a student's contribution, I'm going to take this one here, the person hiding behind their iPad, and what I could decide is, hey, let's add that into our instant whiteboard lesson, and let's take a closer look at what that student had to say. So now when I come back into my instant whiteboard, you'll see that I now have the picture that I took of myself, and I have that card from a student that I've added in there. So once in here, what I could then do with that is I could then send that back out to my class as another creative card that I wanted them, so they could build on the students' learning, or there's various ways that I can use that as well. Okay, and I'm not sure why I'm not getting my stop here, which I should be able to stop that. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to exit from my instant whiteboard, and we'll come back in. So you can see that being able to take that snapshot. And as you saw, if I really wanted that, I could have saved that lesson to look back at another time. We'll come back in and get everybody joined. And I do notice that some people are having difficulty joining. I am sorry for that. Sometimes we get on the call, but hopefully you're still getting the effect and able to see the benefits of what I'm showing here. Okay, so I've opened that up again, and again, everybody's connected. So on here as well, you've got your annotation tool. So if I single click on it, that then gives me my default blue pen. But if I click on it again, it opens up more options. So you can see that there's 6 different pen colors I can use. I have different pen widths. I also have highlighter, and I also have the eraser that I can use as well. Okay. On the toolbar, I also have this one here to clear all the annotations on the screen also. You also have Toolbox here, and you've got some great math tools that you can use. So you've got protractor, ruler, set where if I take the ruler and put it on here, I want to go back to my select, I can pick that up and move it. I can change the properties of it. I can rotate it. And if I pick up my pen tool, I'm then able to draw. And on your creative cards, you maybe would have noticed that little icon there as well that would allow your students to be able to do the same thing and contribute that. So if I move that, you can now see that I've drawn that line there. That line exists. Okay. If I want to add a page into my instant whiteboard lesson, I just click on the plus, and you can see I now have a new page in there. With my annotations, what I could do is I could maybe give the task for the day. Okay, so bear with me. I am writing with a mouse, which is never an easy thing to do. So maybe this is my blue group, and I can say you're going to do Heinemann Math, page 34 to 36. Okay, so I want that group to work on that. I'm going to add another card in. my lesson, and this time I'm going to write a task for my green group. So green group, today you're going to do, and I do apologize, I'm really not writing very well with this mouse at all. So my green group, I could write in what my green group are going to do. And what is really nice is once I have more than one pupil on here, I can go into this little icon here which says send card to a group. And if I wanted to, I could select particular students in my class to get a particular card. So if I go down this way here, okay, I can click all of these students down this side and say that I would like all of you. I'm trying to see if I'm on there as well. There I am. I want to make sure that I've just this so I can show you as well. I would like all of these students here to have this particular card. The green group, you're going to get the green card, the task for the green group here. And I'll just give it a minute. My internet connection is causing me a bit of problems. You can see it is preparing here to send me that card. So that card would come up here. So what's really nice is I could then do the same for my blue group. So I could send specific cards of information to specific groups. Or maybe it's a group task and I only want one person in the group who is going to have it sent to their device because they're going to be the leader of that group. Or I could have different cards for different roles that students have in group work, and then they're sent the appropriate card to their devices. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so lots of great stuff that you can do with class out there in advance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out of this, and as I said, I can save that if I want. So if I save that, and we come out, you'll now see that in my resources at the top of that, we've got that instant whiteboard session and it's giving me the date that's around that. So I could always go back to that at any time with my class. I'm just going to come back and go into that ClassFlow lesson that I started off with again. And just before I continue on to the next part, I think Ella has now joined, so if you can actually pop up there, and just wondered if there were any questions that had come that need answering before I move on. Ella or Sarah, or maybe Estelle, I'm not sure who's there.
Hi Janice, we just had a question about dividing classes into groups. Can you do that before your lesson?
Sure, yes you can, and we will cover that in part 2 of the session. So in part 2, we're going to show you how to set classes up in advance, and as part of setting your class up, I'm going to show you how to group students as well. Okay, so you can do that, but I can't do that in advance when I'm using an ad hoc class. That has to be a created class. So as I said, we will cover that in the next session. Okay, anything else before I move on, Sarah?
I think we're all right. We've got a question about linking with Google Classroom.
Okay. What?
Flow with your Google Classroom.
So I know a bit about Google Classroom. So when you talk about Google Classroom, are you talking about all of the docs and spreadsheets and things that are available with it? Or can you clarify that? Can they explain that a little bit further, Sarah?
I'll have a chat with Keith in the chat, and then we'll clarify for the next set of questions, Janice.
That would be perfect. Thank you, Sarah. What you can do, and I didn't cover this at the beginning, and I should have, but I will talk about it now, is if you don't already have a ClassFlow account, so if you can just put in the chat, yes if you already have a ClassFlow account, or no if you don't. So what you can do, so I can see some starting to come in, perfect. If you don't already have, but you had a Promethean Planet account, your Promethean Planet details would have been migrated over. So as long as you remember what the email address you used on Promethean Planet is and your password, you can use that to log into your ClassFlow account. if you didn't have a permission Planet login, then it's really easy to create. So I'll come back out here just for a second, and in fact, I'm going to go to a different tab here for a minute, come into a different site just to show you the login process. So what you would want to do is sign up, okay? So you can sign up for an account, or if you're a Facebook user, a Google user, or Microsoft 365, all you need to do is click login as teacher, and then on the free site, this is a demo site here. What you would have down here is, this demo site is Promethean staff only. What you would have down here is login with Office 365, Facebook, or Google. And you can just use online authentication to log in with any of those accounts directly. Okay, so we'll come back into that. Here we go. Now, one of the other things that I want to show you tonight is something that made an appearance in ClassFlow not too long ago. And again, I think it's fantastic as a way of getting started using it, getting your students' devices connected, but without having to spend time right now learning the in and outs of everything. So I'm just going to open up this one, and I'm just going to mute my sound there. So what we have here are called ClassFlow Activities. And within the ClassFlow under My Resources, you have the ability to create your own activities. And they're absolutely brilliant because it's all set up for you. All you need to do is put in the information, and then it will generate an activity for you. And there's 7 different activity types, and we'll have a look at those in just a second. So just to give you an idea of this, I'm going to send this out to your device so you can have a look at it. And I'm going to send it as a creative. Now, I could have just sent it as a card, and that would have meant that my class could interact with it. But that would mean that I wouldn't have, and bear with me while I pause this one. There we go, sound on that one. So you can see this is the student card here sent out with me, okay? So what we can then do is I can see here it's a crossword, the part of the year that has specific weather conditions. So I'm going to say season, click OK, and I can see it's correct because it puts it in the crossword. If I do something that is incorrect, okay, so let's say we put in months, it then tells the student that they're incorrect and they can click in it to try it again. So you can say, this time I think it's a year, and it puts that in. Okay, so really nice, cute little activities that you can create. And you, as I say, you put the content in so you can decide how easy or how difficult, how challenging it is if you want to. So I'm just going to stop for a second and let's see, in fact, I'm going to see if anybody has made it through all of that, and we can see what the results look like here. So no. What would happen is just like any other creative card, here you go, I would start to see, if somebody had sent it in, I would start to see that down here. And this, when I'm using a class, not when I'm using one of my ad hoc sessions. So when I have a class set up, all of this information would be saved in my ClassFlow account that I could look back at later on. Okay. If you're using an iPhone, I saw somebody said it wouldn't let me answer. If you're using an iPhone, sometimes it is hard to click in that little tiny space because it is quite small on your phone. So again, when you're using ClassFlow, it's a little bit of choosing the correct or choosing the most appropriate activity for the device that you're working on. So just to move on and have a look here, you can see mine again. Here we go. We are loading. It's just taking a couple minutes. There we go. So in the activity builder, there's 7 different activity types. So we've got crossword, flashcards, timeline, stick listing, word search, memory game, and matching. And I am going to go more into this in the next session. Oh, I'll just wait a second because something is not liking my computer here for a minute. I seem to have frozen my computer. Bear with me for just a second. It's my ClassFlow site that has frozen. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, that's okay, because it's kind of my next step anyway, is I'm going to jump into the marketplace here. And because my ClassFlow.co.uk account has decided to freeze on me, I think maybe I'm just asking my computer to do a little bit too much at this time, I'm going to come into my demo account and we're going to have a look at the marketplace through there. So you can create your own activities, and I am going to cover that in more detail next time, but just in case I have whet your appetite and you would like to go away and try that, under My Resources and New, you have the ability here to create an activity. So if I click on that, that then takes me to Activity Builder. I can select the type of activity I would like to build, and then it takes me into the builder there. So you just have to give a title here for sure. So let's just call it Test. Click Done. And then just to show you here, it takes me into the builder and talks me through how I can then build that activity. But if you're not quite ready to get started on creating your own, don't worry, because there's a whole bunch of demos out there created already for you. So this is where I'm going to jump to Marketplace. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, we used to have the wonderful website that was Promethean Planet. And very recently, just at the end of September, we merged the two sites. So Promethean Planet is now gone, and we now have ClassFlow and ClassFlow Marketplace. The Marketplace is part of it. So rest assured, all of that fantastic Flipchart content, ActivInspire content, is still available. It's just now on Marketplace, so this is where you would come to get it. So I am going to take you through that in a second. But what I wanted to show you first was just those activities. So if I scroll down the page here and come down to the bottom, I can do a search by file format. And if I click Show All, and you'll start to get an idea of all of the different types of file formats of resources that you can find on ClassFlow Marketplace. Now, as the name suggests, a marketplace is where people would go to buy and sell. So that's the same as our marketplace here. This is a place where teachers can go to get free content to use in school. They can also decide to purchase content that other teachers have created, or you could decide to sell your own content as well if you're interested. So if you want to make a little bit of money, you could create content that you're already using and share it on the marketplace and be able to make a little bit of money off of it as well. What I wanted to point out here was the learning activities. So if I click on that, just to do a search, and you can see it does my search here, and if I just scroll down a little bit, you can see that there's quite a lot of pages. It's only showing me 5, but I know that there's more than that, of activity examples. So these are ones that are great just to get you started. If you decide that you find one you like, so that was the 4 seasons I did, let's have a look at the, a different one here. And what I want to do, if I want that, is I'm going to add that to my resources. So you can see it's copying it to my resources, and it might take a little bit of time depending on the size. I always like to wait here until I get my successfully added. If I click on that, this will then take me back into my resources and right to that activity, so I can see that activity here. And if I wanted to, I could have a look at it, just click on it to play, and it will open it up so that I can have a good look at that activity. Again, I can pause that. Okay? So I'm going to exit that. If I now wanted to send that activity to my class, so I like that activity, I want my class to use it, what you need to do is create a new lesson. So we're going to create a lesson here. And I'm going to just put in severe weather and click Save. To get that activity into my lesson, all I need to do is open up a blank lesson, insert, and I'm going to find that from Marketplace. There's that severe weather natural disasters, and insert that in. Okay, so now you can see that card is there. So I could then decide that I'm going to present this to my ad hoc class, and now anybody that is still connected to my class, oh, you won't be because we're on a different site, I forgot, sorry, would get that that activity sent out to them. Okay, so as simple as that. So there are loads of those available on there, so it's worth having a look at. Also on Marketplace, though, can you share activities on 365? ClassFlow Activities, the only way you can share ClassFlow lessons and ClassFlow Activities is through the ClassFlow Marketplace. Okay, so those file formats can only be hosted on here as far as I'm aware. Okay, a couple other things that I want to show you here. There is lots of content. I can filter my searches in different ways, by language, by subject, by age, by file format, as you saw. I can also filter it by free or paid, or by teachers or by publishers. Now, for those UK teachers on the line, I just wanted to show you a couple things very quickly. If I type in key stage, and I spell it right, got a wee bit of a delay on my computer there, and I click search, you'll see here that it comes up with some curated, so these are some Promethean created lesson examples that cover the key stage topics. So there is a good amount of content here already available, lessons already available that you can use. And again, if you want to then take that and be able to use that resource, you click on it to find out more, and then once again you just do this, add to resources. So add that to your resources, okay? And that will put that in a folder under your resources called Marketplace. We're going to go back here to this again. The other thing that I would like to show you is, some of you might have noticed this one here that says English National Curriculum. So what we've done is we have had a look at the SPAG curriculum, and we have created assessments that cover the breadth and balance of the SPAG curriculum for Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. So you can see here all of the SPAG tests. And they will come up with the name to tell you what they are. And again, as I said, all I need to do is click on it and add that into my resources. But this gives you an idea of what those assessments look like as well. Okay, so it covers the breadth and balance of that. I saw that about the Dutch content. I know that there is Dutch content on there. I don't know to what extent, I'm afraid, because I do just cover the UK, but if that's something that you want to find out more about, please feel free to email me. You'll get my email address in the follow-up email after this session, and I can answer that question for you, okay? Now, to all of those ActivInspire users out there, this is the one thing that I want to just cover before we pop back to the site and look at support moving forward. As I said, all that Flipchart content, all that ActivInspire content has been brought here. So if I just go down to the bottom, and I'm going to select Flipchart from my file format, and I'm also going to select Inspire Resource Packs. Okay, so this is all of that ActivInspire content that was brought over from Promethean Planet. I can further filter that by like type in a topic, so I'm just going to do space. And now what it's going to give me is all of the content that has the Flipchart ActivInspire resource that has space in that title. So you can see here, I've got a resource pack there, and you can see Flipchart, so it tells me what file formats they are. To get this, I then click on it, and again, it takes me to a little preview. So I'm going to say add to my resources, and hopefully I've picked one that's not too huge of a file to take over. And I see this is Danny Nicholson. I don't know if you guys, if anybody follows Danny Nicholson, but he does a great blog called the Interactive Whiteboard blog in the UK. I'm just going to click on successfully added, and it's now going to take me here into my resources, and you can see there's that Flipchart I've added here. Now, from here, what I can do is if I want to use that in ClassFlow, all I need to do is click this button here that says Convert, and that will convert that into a ClassFlow lesson for me. And once it's converted, again, it will show up under my resources. Now, I'm not going to do that because it does take a few minutes to do that, and I am aware that the time is ticking on. But if you want to use this Flipchart in ActivInspire, what you need to do is then click this button here that says download. And what that then does is start that download. So you can see it's downloaded here. And if I want to open up an ActivInspire, I'm now going to click on it. And this is going to launch ActivInspire for me. And we'll just have a really quick look to see that there before we move on to the finish. So you can see it launching, and it is going to open up that Flipchart for me, and that's how I can make use of the Flipchart content that is now available for you through Marketplace. Okay? So just to finish off, I want to come back to my home screen. Now, from here, where do you go? Well, as I said, we do have another webinar coming up on the 1st of November, so it'd be really great if people could join. We will send you a registration link in the follow-up email as well, so we'd love to see some of you back on that one as well. But if you are interested in using ClassFlow before then, anxious to get started, loads of help is built right within the software itself. So for example, when you're just starting out down here, this shows me all the different areas of things that I can do within ClassFlow. So if I click on Deliver, I then get Show Me. So clicking on that will open up a little video tutorial and some more information on delivering lessons to my class. Okay? And I think lots of help videos to get you started right there from the home screen. Also here though, at the top, you've got a little drop-down menu here, and depending on what area of ClassFlow I'm on, all of these are little video tutorials that take me through how to do things in this particular area. You also have our online help and our online support, so those are other areas that you can have a look at. But what we also have is this lovely interactive chat. An interactive chat is only available in the UK and the US, so on the co.uk site and the .com site as far as I'm aware. But we have some support people that are standing by there live. If I type in, how do I create an activity, we'll see if anybody comes back to us. I can then send that in, it pops up, start conversation, and we can see that somebody will be in contact. And they are available during working hours, and they do come back fairly quickly as well, so if you do have the questions. Okay, so just to finish up, I'm going to close that down, and I'm going to come back in here. When I do that, I'm just going to ask whoever's available of my panelists if there were any questions that have come through that need answering before the end. So Sarah or Ella?
Most of the questions have been answered in the chat, Janice, so we're all good, thank you.
Okay, perfect. So just to finish up, if I load my last page of my lesson here, which is slowly coming to, here we go. And no, that's not the last one. My lesson seems to have, here we go. Last one, here we go, my last card finally, okay? So remember, if you are a UK teacher, you can sign up for your free account here, classflow.co.uk. Again, if you need to know which ClassFlow site is best for you to use, please just send me a direct email and I can answer that, find that out and answer that for you. If you did have a Promethean Planet account, it has moved over, so you can use that to log in. It's your email that you registered with Promethean Planet and your password that you will need to use. We will follow up this webinar with an email that will have a link to the recording. We're going to put that on our YouTube channel. And I'll also just give you a list of the help videos that will cover some of the things that I talked about in tonight's session as well. And just up there, you can see we've got our 2 other sessions that I've got listed so far, getting started with ClassFlow Part 2. And we also have one with Sarah, who's been popping in with all of our questions tonight, who is going to be my guest presenter for a piece on student engagement as well. So it'll be great to see people joining those ones as well. And if you did enjoy this webinar, please, please pass the word. We'd love to see more and more people get involved in these as well. Okay, so if there are no more questions, thank you very much everybody for joining today, and I hope that you have found that useful. Thank you.